Hey there, this is Logan, and today we'll be doing something a little bit different. Coming off the back of the last video, I thought that it was a good opportunity to discuss my thoughts on Super Saiyan. Alright then, let's get into it. Super Saiyan, one of the most iconic aspects of Dragon Ball, and anime as a whole. But, was it wasted potential? I believe so. And in this video we will be discussing Super Saiyan and its severely underutilized grade system. I feel that Super Saiyan, and more specifically its later variants, were wasted, and I'd say the worst offender when it comes to this is Super Saiyan Grade 3, which was only ever used twice in battle and only once to actually fight. Now, I know what some people may be thinking, but Grade 3 is useless. It may give a decent power up, but it's too bulky and slow to be practical in battle. And whilst I agree that when used in the way that Trunks did, yes, it's absolutely useless as a form. However, if they implemented a strategy similar to the God to Blue switch from Goku's fight with Hit in the manga, it could be far more effective. How I believe this would have been done is by using Grade 1, which had been mastered just before the Cell games, before switching to Grade 2 during combos for higher damage, and if an opponent is stunned or could be taken off guard, then they could power up to Grade 3 to deliver a devastating final blow. I feel like this would have been more interesting, as they would have had to employ more strategy during fights, assessing whether it's worth the risk of transforming. But instead, we just have a 7-year time skip and now everyone has Super Saiyan 2. And I get that Goku and Vegeta would be striving for it, and it's more than reasonable to assume they could get the form in 7 years, but I just think it would have been nice to at least show them using the lower grades throughout those 7 years, and actually show us them struggling to achieve the form and what served as the catalyst for their awakenings. And I feel that Super Saiyan 3 is even worse than this, as whilst I get it was presumably only possible due to the fact that he was dead, and basically brute forced his way to the form of his infinite ki reserves, it would have been nice if they actually expanded upon that, as well as exploring the lore of Super Saiyan as a whole. Now, you may be thinking that it already was expanded upon, with the explanation that the form is achieved through a mix of great power and emotions, but it doesn't really explain why they can transform. And what could have been done is have it so that Super Saiyan is really just tapping into the true power of the Oozaru in its purest form. Now, you may think that there's no basis for this, but I believe that there is, as Broly was able to tap into the power of an Oozaru without turning into one, and it was only achieved after a great deal of anger, much like Super Saiyan, and Goku's false Super Saiyan state looks practically identical to Broly's Ikari form. Speaking of Goku, he managed to tap into the power of the Great Ape without transforming for a brief moment during his fight with Demon King Piccolo. And if Super Saiyan were expanded upon in the way that I'm suggesting, then instead of just being a one-off moment, it would be a case of him slowly beginning to draw out the latent power of the Oozaru without the need to become one, until he unlocks the power of false Super Saiyan, or in this case just regular Super Saiyan, then tapping into its full power state, which would just be normal Super Saiyan. I made a graph in order to visually represent the progression of this alternate Super Saiyan, and as you can see, initially Goku starts off with only access to the Oozaru state, before then being able to tap into the false Super Saiyan, or in this case Super Saiyan Grade 1, after experiencing a great deal of rage, possibly when Goku finds his friends slaughtered at the hands of Nappa, but he wouldn't be able to sustain the form, only bursting into it in a fit of rage, delivering the crippling strike he dealt with the Kaioken in the main series, before reverting to his base state. And Vegeta would likely recognize this as the Super Saiyan, but he would also realize that Goku did not transform at will, and without the form he's still weaker than Vegeta. So from that point on, the fight would go unchanged until Vegeta releases the Power Ball, at which point it would serve as a catalyst to trigger the Super Saiyan transformation. Vegeta would then realize that the Super Saiyan form of Legends is truly just the Oozaru's form in a far more efficient state. And whilst Vegeta would retain the advantage in power, Goku would have higher speed and maneuverability, allowing him to come out on top, beating Vegeta, who would then flee. However, as Piccolo, and by extension Kami, still died, Krillin would still suggest locating and travelling to Namek, but since Goku wasn't crushed by Oozaru Vegeta, he wouldn't need anywhere near as long of a recovery time, meaning that he could join Gohan and Krillin before the Ginyus arrived, likely landing soon after Zawan's defeat, and due to both a Zenkai from his fight with Vegeta and his 6-day training, he would now be able to access Super Saiyan at will, but only after a great deal of effort and time, so it was only a last resort. The fight with the Ginyus would go smoothly, at least until Ginyu steals Goku's body, but he would soon get it back with the help of Krillin and Gohan, but he would still need healing, much like in the original story. Everything would progress pretty much the same, until the fight with Final Form Frieza, in which Vegeta would try to turn into a Super Saiyan using a Power Ball, but instead would just turn into an Oozaru, as he never had his tail cut off. Frieza would then mortally wound Vegeta, leading to him dying as Goku arrived, much like in the main story, but with Vegeta in the Oozaru state instead of his base form. From there, Goku would fight with Frieza, at which point, instead of using the Kaioken times 20, which he wouldn't be able to access due to not training with the Kaioken after learning of the Super Saiyan, He would instead go Super Saiyan, scaring Frieza until they begin to fight. Because at this point, Super Saiyan is only a 10 times boost. But after that, things proceed normally with Goku charging and using the Spirit Bomb, Frieza surviving and then killing Krillin, at which point Goku would access the normal Super Saiyan state, which in this case would be full power Super Saiyan. And due to his prior experience with full Super Saiyan, he would be far more efficient with full power, being able to use the form much easier than normal, allowing Goku an easier win against Frieza. From this point onwards, Goku would be able to tap into Super Saiyan at will far faster than normal thanks to his experience with the incomplete version. After this, things would be practically indistinguishable from the main story until Goku's fight with Cell, as instead of relying solely on the first grade of Super Saiyan, he would wait for openings or until he was mid-attack, and then burst into grade 2, even going grade 3 when using the Warp Kamehameha, obliterating even more of Cell than usual. However, much like in the main story, Goku's power isn't enough to beat the Bio-Android, so he forfeits, instead calling upon Gohan to take his place. At this point, nothing would change until Gohan goes Super Saiyan 2, as one minor alteration is Android 16 offering to enter the time chamber with Goku and Gohan, as he doesn't need food or water. I feel like this change makes Gohan's Rage boost feel more justified, as he would have gotten to know 16 and bond with him over the course of a year, as opposed to talking to him a couple of times. Due to this, Gohan's Rage boost would be even more potent, allowing for a slightly easier win on Gohan's part. This also sparks a change in Gohan, who doesn't want to lose any more of his friends, and is also now the strongest defender of Earth. Due to this, Gohan begins to train alongside his studies, allowing him to find a good balance between the two. During the 7 years between the Cell and Buu sagas, Gohan worked on trying to tap into Super Saiyan 2 at will, Vegeta worked on mastering grade 2 and 3 in order to pull off the grade switches that Goku did. Meanwhile, Goku experimented with Super Saiyan and the Kaioken in Overworld, eventually creating the Super Kaioken, which was just as powerful as Super Saiyan 2, but was overall much worse, as while Super Saiyan 2 only had stamina drain, the Super Kaioken had stamina drain as well as slowly tearing Goku's body apart. By the time of the Buu saga, Goku had gotten the Super Kaioken to the point where he could use it with minimal damage. Meanwhile, Vegeta had mastered the grade switch, being able to swap between the forms almost instantaneously and with little to no stamina drain, allowing for a very powerful and efficient fighting style. Finally, Gohan had mastered Super Saiyan 2, however, due to not doing consistent training like Goku and Vegeta, his base power was weaker than theirs. From here, nothing of note would change, besides Gohan being able to beat Tabora, until Vegeta goes Majin, at which point it would serve as his catalyst for unlocking Super Saiyan 2, making him the strongest of the 3 Saiyans, allowing him to beat Goku without relying on him being distracted. After this though, not much changes besides Goku having a tougher time against Buu without Super Saiyan 3. After the Buu saga though, Goku would learn to tap into Super Saiyan 2 with the help of Gohan, and one final change that could be done is Goku trying to further Super Saiyan 2, eventually surpassing it, naming the new form Super Saiyan 2 Limit Breaker, and from there eventually getting Super Saiyan 3. I know that these last changes feel rushed, and it's because they are, but I just thought that it would be a nice way to still have Akira Toriyama's original Super Saiyan 3 design, as well as putting a buffer between 2 and 3, as I always felt like the power gap between them was insane. And Super Saiyan 3 would still have the stamina issues, so would Super Saiyan 2 Limit Breaker, just not to the same extent, but by training to use it like he used grades 2 and 3 against Cell, they would become far more efficient. From there, it would go into Battle of Gods, but I only wanted to discuss the regular Super Saiyan forms. However, I do plan on making a similar video to this one discussing the God forms. Once that's done, then let me know if you'd like me to combine the two and turn them into a What If series, as I want to expand my channel to cover more things in the future, with mod reviews still being the core focus. Anyway, those were my thoughts on how Super Saiyan could have been handled differently. However, whilst it's easy to look back on all of Toriyama's work and see how it could have been changed, without him none of this would have existed in the first place. And so whilst he does forget a lot of things about his story and misses some opportunities, at the end of the day, this entire community is founded off of his work. And with that, I'll be ending my first discussion video here. I sincerely thank you for making it this far, and I'm sorry if it'll end up being rambly or unfocused, but I'm new to this, so I can only get better from here. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want more content like this in the future. Until then, this is Logan, signing off.